But
I refuse to normalize this. This is abnormal by anyone's account. I was reading an article, unheard of. He's the only person that has ever been the president of the United States that's a convicted felon.
Yeah, he, as we mentioned, made anti-DEI federal policy official, and he moved to make two genders the official standpoint of the government, which really shocking to hear. What do you think the impact of that will be?
Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to debunk the unfounded criticisms from Sonny Rockton, this host from The View, who tries in every way to demonize Donald Trump. So, get ready for an analysis that goes straight to the point, debunking the fallacies, dismantling the lies, and revealing the truth about American politics. And Trump's presidency is just the beginning. Check out what the host from The View said about this. You won't believe it.
Okay.
On the show today, you called out the hypocrisy of having Trump be inaugurated on the same day that we commemorate Martin Luther King Jr.
That's what struck me.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
most,
it's Jan
actually.
20th, the unfortunate lining up of dates here between Martin Luther King Day and the inauguration of Trump.
I mean, maybe I got too cerebral about it, maybe I was too in my head about it, but I just started thinking, my goodness, someone who has a Justice Department settlement because his father and Trump himself would not rent to black people. Someone who did all this stuff with the Central Park Five, and called for their execution and continued to do so even when they were exonerated. And the things he said about Haitians eating the pets and the dogs and the cats. And black jobs and
and
black
dismantling
friend.
DEI on, with an executive order on that day.
And dismantling DEI, especially, it just struck me as so unjust. I know that's all that I kept on thinking about.
Yeah. I know we also talked on the show today about how people like Snoop Dogg and Nelly performed at the inauguration parties. And I guess they technically were, I think Snoop was at a crypto event before, but it was a Trump-centered event.
It was.
It was a little surprising. What did you...
Look, I like him.
And the choice of date for Donald Trump's inauguration is a demonstration of continuity and the struggle for rights and justice, symbolizing a new era of prosperity and security for all Americans. And people are already opening their eyes. Discover the famous celebrities who are joining Trump.
Yeah, I like Snoop too.
He's a friend to the show. I like him personally. He's my birthday twin. We're both born on October 20th.
That's a sacred bond.
I remember when he came here. He's been here a couple times, but he invited me into his dressing room. If he had not spoken up in 2017, and he even said things like, I've never voted before, but I'm going to vote because I want Trump out of office. It just seems to me, if he did it for the money, Snoop has a lot of money. I mean, when is enough, right? Maybe never, but it just felt, it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right.
It was certainly surprising.
Especially because I know him, and I think he's a principled person and a kind person, and really an icon for the black community in many respects. And so that it actually quite a bit.
We'll see if he talks more about it after this.
I would love him to, and I would love for him to come back on the show and talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. What do you make of those that say they're just getting paid and that's what the job is?
I understand the argument.
Yeah.
I understand the argument. I mean, Reba McEntire came on and she said that, I don't talk politics. Dolly Parton for a long time also, she doesn't really talk politics, but...
Snoop Dogg's participation in Trump events shows his policies positively impact the economy and security. There is a recognition of a positive impact in his policies on the economy and national security. And it's time to put aside hypocrisy and accept that Trump is doing what's best for the country. And of course, the pardons would also be a topic of Sonny's biting comments. And this time, you absolutely won't believe what she said.
Understand that I think there were about 1,500 prosecutions, right? And you don't know what goes into that. To make a federal case against someone, it's really hard work, and you don't get paid a lot of money. There were federal prosecutors that volunteered from other offices to make sure that the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., which is where I prosecuted cases, wasn't overwhelmed and was supported. And one of those prosecutors who prosecuted the cases has said it felt like a gut punch. And it feels like a gut punch to me, and I haven't been in that role for a long time. You know, does the rule of law not matter anymore? Spent my life abiding by the rule of law, so I'm really dumbfounded. Not so much at the pardons of the folks that were nonviolent, right? But at the pardon of those that attacked law enforcement officers, and also by the Republican senators or Congress people that were cowering in fear from these crowds and were protected by some of those officers. You know, remember Harry? Yeah. I mean, I reached out to Harry, and he's dumbfounded.
Were you surprised or no? I
was surprised. I was surprised that he would pardon those that had assaulted.
Now, the response from people when you hold them to this, who are Trump supporters that I've heard is, and he said a version of this too, well, they've done their time and people have no problem with no bail and murderers getting let out after 2 days and things like that. And how do you reconcile that argument?
Well, I have a problem with people getting out, so I don't have to reconcile that argument. I don't agree with that argument. Right. You do the crime, you do the time. It's that simple. You get found guilty by a jury of your peers, you get your appeals, and if they're unsuccessful, you serve time.
Well, it has to be, listen, so these 1,500 people that have obviously made some poor decisions.
The Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, I mean, that's pretty significant.
It is.
And when he now, I think in retrospect, think about when he said stand by.
Right. Yeah.
To those
stand back and stand
by to that group of people. Did he mean that? Yes, he did. He was signaling.
And now, will he bear responsibility for what they do moving forward? These people that he let out of jail.
He never will. He never will. I was reading that one man turned his own father in, and now he's living in fear that his father will come and harm him.
I hope not.
This is the world that we're living in, but I refuse to normalize it.
Now, on the other side, there was the Biden pardons, and a lot of people were worked up about this.
And what about Trump's pardons for the January 6th protesters? It's indeed an absolutely necessary correction of a judicial system that frequently criminalizes people unjustly because of their freedom of speech in our society. And Trump is indeed demonstrating that true justice cannot be driven by political agendas in any way. But yes, for the truth. Everything Trump is doing is defending American values. But Sunny just doesn't stop embarrassing herself. And this time was like always no different. Check it out.
Young people especially. Yeah. This is supposed to be an inclusive country. This is supposed to be a place where if that you get to choose your identity. And if that identity is they or them, if that identity is, if you were born a biological male, but you are a woman, then you get to do that here. There are other places in this world, other countries, where you are murdered for that. I thought this was the land of the free. And so I'm really disappointed in what he did. I'm already disappointed. And I'm disappointed that this country would allow it, actually. I'm disappointed that this country would allow others to feel like they don't belong.
There feels like the outrage isn't there the way it was in 2016 in general. Do you think that's going to stick, or do you think people are just recovering? And
I think people are recovering. I think the resistance is alive and well. I think people are regrouping. And I think when they see the pain that will be inflicted on their neighbors.
Trump is reaffirming basic and biological truths, protecting children from ideologies that seek to confuse and divide. His gender policy is indeed a defense of family values and also biological truths. These are fundamental pillars of American society, and Trump is indeed leading America toward a future of justice and freedom, challenging those who seek to undermine our fundamental values. And it's time for us to unite around truth and justice and support a president who puts America first, And if you also support the fight for truth and justice, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, leave your like, share your opinions and comments with as many people as you can, and help us spread the truth by sharing this video. And together we can indeed ensure that America is a land of justice and freedom for all. Thank you very much. See you next time.